Hi everybody, this is my last and final video that I will be posting for my blog for my placement at Etc. Theatre in Camden, in London. All the previous ones that I have posted before, and there's 8 total before this one, so this is the 9th one, are basically reflections of my day-to-day, of what I learned that day, and the reflections of the day. This video will be more of a critical thinking, the critical insight and knowledge that I gain, and what I believe what has helped me and what hasn't helped me, or if I've achieved my learning outcomes, which you'll find out if I have or not. So to start off with, I figured I would say what my original learning my learning outcomes are. They are 1, gain a critical insight in how the theater venue is maintained and operated during the theater festival. The theater festival that I helped Etc. Theatre with was Camden Fringe, which operated from the 1st of August to the 28th. Camden Fringe had a lineup of over 250 different productions at over 25 different venues. The venue that I did my placement at was Etc. Theatre. I said it a few times already, but it was a black box venue. Black box theater. It housed maximum up to 42, but if we had consent, we were able to fit a few extra seats in, and it could go up to 45. And when I mean consent is we file regulations maximum 42, even with the cast and crew. It was consent with previous with the file marshals, because it's a maximum 45, but we always say at 42. So we had to let the companies know that they were doing the show. If it was overbooked, it would be like, we can fit a few extra, but only 3 more people, and that's maximum. But we had to make sure that there was no extra people in there, meaning that their crew, they didn't have an extra allotted seat for a guest to come in. Learning outcome 2, gain an understanding of how to promote and market shows at a black box theater venue for the duration of Camden Fringe. Most of the promoting was done on, how about I just read up all of them, and then I'll go back. 3 is gain an understanding of the marketing and financial aspects of running a venue during Camden Fringe. And 4, gain an understanding of how to liaison with the festival, so the headquarters, which the Camden Fringe headquarters is in Manchester, England, and most of the communications between us were either phone call or email. The venue itself, so Etc. Theatre, the performers, the producers of the shows, as well as the companies, so not just the performers, but the cast and crew and the camera crew and everyone else in between, and how to accommodate all the parties as best possible that we can, and for a certain demand or what needs to be done, especially with the audience as well. I'm going to start off with going over the videos. The first week, the whole reason I decided to do see how a theater is operated during a festival is because at some point in my career, I would have liked to run a theater or a festival. A theater during a festival will actually operate a festival, because in Kansas City there's not a huge amount of the festivals that there are here in London or in New York, LA, and most of the big cities. Kansas City is not. It has one really small theater festival that it's more shows film work than it does stage work. So I wanted to try to get more hands-on experience with this. I went in with really high hopes my first week, even though I volunteered at Etc. Theater trying to get the ins and outs on what I would have to do for my day-to-day. When I was working there, I started 2 weeks prior to the actual placement, and I was learning everything, and everything that I would need to know, such as the fire regulations, what's needed, for how many audience members, the things I talked about at the beginning. Sorry, I have my notes and all my notes right there. 5 pages. Woo! So again, I went in with high hopes, believing that I can get all of my learning outcomes done. And within the first week, I did. I saw a lot of the shows. Not saw, but witnessed, I guess is the more chosen word for that, of how we get the theater companies in and out, how to maintain the theater, how to keep it clean and organized and in the proper aspect that it's needed for every single show, for every single company. It needs to be the same. Again, with the fire regulations, making sure that they knew that they couldn't smoke on stage, that there were fire exits, where they were located, the plugins and like plugging in extra stuff, the lighting equipment, the sound equipment, making sure everything was properly working and that it wasn't being messed with in a way that could cause a hazard for them or the audience or anyone. Week 2 kind of just talked about it, maintaining the stage and the venue, making sure everything was in its proper place again. So because we don't want any accidents, we didn't want anybody to get hurt. Besides the company themselves, we didn't want the audience, we didn't want the pub below, which the crew, the workers of the pub, the theater is, okay, so the bottom layer is the pub, ground floors, and then the first floor is the theater, and then the floor above that is offices, and then above that is apartments. And then you have to go through the pub, through the stairs by the theater to even get to the offices or apartments that are on the top floors. So there could not be any obstructions or anything in the way of the stairs. Well, first, someone could easily trip, but just because it's the what if scenario, like what if something's going to happen. During the whole time during the running that I had placement at Camden, my daily duty was doing box office. And in box office, I opened 30 minutes before the show was in. And at that time, the previous show had to get out. Everything had to be cleaned out, so that the new show, the new company could get in and set up. You only had an allotted 45 minutes, which it was 45 minutes total of setup and tear down. And you could divide it usually however you wanted. Most people did a 30-minute get in and then a 15-minute get out. That's the maximum that we did. Sometimes if we had a break in between, like sometimes a show would cancel, you had a little bit more lenience. We gave more lenience on it, but that happened maybe a handful of times out of all of the shows. And it was very strict to keep them on the task so we could keep the theater running smoothly. And so everybody, so not just the crew and the companies, but so the audience didn't have to wait around, so everything would run smoothly for them, for everyone. With box office, like I said, I ran the box office 30 minutes before a show began. And doing that, most of the time there always was another person in the office or around the stage so they could help the companies with lighting or sound. Sometimes it would fall on me to do that, and the other person ran box office. Most of the time I was running box office. If it was just me completely, I had to run up and down the stairs, which happened a few times. I had to run up and down the stairs with the box office till. making sure the guests stayed downstairs until I called them to come into the area. Also, as well as making sure the sound and lighting and everything was to what that company wanted, what they needed. So the ticket sales, there was a you could pre-order tickets online, and the money didn't go to us as a whole. It goes back to Camden Fringe, and then they'll send us the allotted amount, and then they'll send that amount to the rest. Most of it went to, actually all of it went to the companies that performed. We didn't see any of the money that was with the pre-sale tickets. That's because it's not our money. The companies paid us to have their show on. I don't know the prices because that was something I wasn't privy to. But we'll get to that in a second. But I went onto our online ticket sales, which was Red 61, and got the list for all the shows that were going on that day and wrote down everyone who bought tickets. I especially checked that right before I had to go down and do box office and make sure I had everyone completely on there. Sometimes there were people who bought it like a minute before the show because they think it would have been cheaper, and it's actually not, because on those sites that you order the tickets from, you get a £1.50 ticketing fee. It would have been cheaper to buy it at the door or even reserve it, call ahead, and you could have reserved it on the door. I help promote the shows on the social media page, the platforms of Facebook and Twitter. I think they have an Instagram, but they hardly use it, etc. I didn't. But it was promoting, and they say it was marketing, and in a way, I suppose it is a marketing of marketing your show out to the masses on social media. I felt like it was more of a I don't see social media as being marketing, but in a way it totally is, because I mean, when I campaigned for my show, I put it all over Facebook and Twitter, and I put it on my website. So social media, I guess it is marketing when you do that for a show. Trying to keep up with the demands and organization of a large theater company, which we had quite a few. The one that I had the problems with the most was a cast of 11. They didn't want to leave at their allotted time. They didn't want to have all their stuff organized, because they rather have just had fun and continued in the stage, even though that you have a total of 45 minutes maximum. And in some cases you couldn't help them move some stuff unless they ask you. Again, that it has to do with the safety thing, and it has to do with you have to ask them straight out, be like, hey, do you want me to help you with this? And if they said no, then it's fine. Okay, this is your time. I don't want to be a BITCH. Can't spell right now. But you need to get out, and if you don't want my help, cool, but get it done now. I said about a lot of times. I ran into a few technical problems. I do come from a background that has, I have a lighting background, and now with my dissertation I have a sound background, and working at the theater, it did help with the aspects of getting mics and speakers and having them set up and where they needed to be located. Ran into quite a few technical difficulties. Most of the time it was because someone thought it was plugged into a different socket, and it wasn't turned on, and most of the time it was flipping a switch. Talked about the marketing and social media. The poster placement, I was in charge of getting the poster, well, me and another person were in charge of making sure all the posters were up. Again, that has to do with marketing your show and having the flyers out and having them all nice and easy to read for the audience members to know what's going on, what's playing. We ran schedules every They still do. But we ran schedules during the festival that had a bulletin up on the front of the pub at 2 places in the garden by the pub, and also right before you enter the theater there is a schedule that says this is what's going to happen at this time. One company, which if you look at previous video I have, decided to take a lot of the posters down. They only left up 1 or 2 that they thought were just for that week, and replaced all the posters, most of the posters, sorry, not all, most of the posters. They actually binned a lot of the posters, which is a lot of money for the companies that come in. We didn't buy any posters or banners for the venue. It was if that show was going to be there, if a company was coming in, they needed to bring their own flyers, their own posters. Most of the time they did. They of course, we all tweeted and Facebooked if the show was going to be here at this time, or here's the schedule for today's lineup, you know. And then we would link, if they had a Facebook page, if they had a Twitter page, we linked their handle to it. But they were in charge of marketing their show. That was not something that befell really to the theater itself. Again, we did do the posters that we do in front of a pub, in front of the pubs in both locations, in the garden, in front of the door before the theater. After talking with the company that decided to take down all the posters, I saw firsthand what the manager, what the manager, not what he did, how he calmed them down, because they were upset that we took down all their posters. Well, at the same time, we're upset that you took down the posters that still had shows going on. His words were, he understood that it was his show, their show, and they were trying to market it. They were trying to get people to come in. But at the same time, it's kind of rude to take down, not kind of, completely is, to take down other companies' work and to take down their posters for their show as well. So I saw how he handled that situation. I guess how you handle an unruly company producer. So it was just one man who was upset about it with the show. And I learned that you know, obviously getting mad will not help out anything. How you can still show that you are supporting them even though you took down their posters. We can put the posters right back up, but don't take down other posters. We can rearrange it. You know, getting mad will not help any situation at all, really. That was okay. So the last 18-ish minutes were pretty much what I learned, the reflection of what I've learned over the last 4 weeks at Camden Fringe, at Etc. Theater through Camden Fringe. I feel like I've gained a huge critical insight on how a theater venue is ran, not just with the performers and how you maintain the stage and how everything is just completely ran, but also how I'm gonna say it, but how crazy everything can be. It's not that it's like time consuming or stressful or anything. It's just it's everything happening right after another, and you have to be on your feet. You have to know what to do in a certain situation. And again, with this experience, I've actually realized that I don't think, at least solo, I can't, because it takes a team to operate a venue, and it takes a team. It takes a lot of people to run a festival, and I know personally I could not run a theater festival by myself. And from just this month experience, well, a month and 2 weeks, so six weeks, I suppose. From this experience, I've realized that I can't. There's absolutely no possible way. It's not just because of the time and the energy and the stress levels and everything. It's everything. It's everything combined. Besides the repetitive tasks that I did, and I was quite happy with doing them, was, cleaning the stage, maintaining it, making sure I knew what was allowed and was not allowed in the theater venue, and also what the cast and crew of the companies could not and could not do, such as smoking cigarettes on stage, which we had to say at least 3 different times to 3 different companies, even though they had contracts saying that they will not smoke on stage, or light candles. Again, fire. The box office and how I ran the sales, how I filed the tickets. We kept a file. We still do. They still have theirs from like 3 years ago, of everyone who bought tickets, of all the tickets that we sold at the door, and we filed them and we put it in our system. And then we also have a hard copy, a hard book that has the year, the time, the name of the show, of how many people were in it. Again, the reason we kept that to begin with was to make sure we knew how many people were in those seats if anything did happen and that we had to evacuate. Other social media platforms that I've learned when I was marketing, that's what they kept calling it, is marketing. I don't know, I still can't wrap my head around that, how social media is. I get it, but it just, to me, it just seems like, oh, I'm going to send a message to my friend to come see the show. To me, it doesn't feel like that. So getting the critical insight, understanding of how to promote the show, and working with the festival itself, when we had to make calls or email, because for the headquarters to get more pamphlets, get more books, of programs, brochures, because we were running out, to get another banner because our banner broke down. That's actually something that the theater did not do. We don't print the programs for the whole festival. That is something that the headquarters in Manchester for Camden Fringe, that they do, and they had to send to us. Also, besides that when a company signs up, they originally go through Camden Fringe, saying that they want to be part of it, and then there's 2 options that can happen when a show is picked. When a company decides that they want to do a show at the Fringe, they can pick a venue, and most of the time, we can say, yeah, they can perform at this time. We have allotted space for them, allotted time slot, however they want to say. Or if there's something that we absolutely see that we really want, that we think they'll be amazing, we offer it to the company to come in. Again, the company has to say, oh yeah, I want your venue. Most of it, though, there was only a handful of shows that I was told that we absolutely needed at our venue. Most of them, it was, we have a time slot, if you want it, okay, that's great. I feel like the main thing that I did not receive in my placement was number 3, which is gaining an understanding of marketing and the financial aspects of running the venue. Since I was the intern, I didn't get to see any of what was going on with the lighting bill, or the electricity bill, I suppose is what it would be, or how much this show will be at this time. I was only privy to the box office sales on the shows that I was working on, or the day I was working on, and write all of them down for the person that would take over the shift if I wasn't working all day. The financial aspects, I didn't see any honestly. It was mentioned in passing, like it takes a lot of money and, you know, it's this of that. But yeah, that's, and I'm not sure if that's gonna hinder me with this video. Hopefully, you know, Nicola and Charlotte think that I'm having more critical insight than reflection in this. I don't know if, looking back on it now, because Charlotte did say that, you know, that one might not be feasible, that she's actually said a few of them might not be feasible with my learning outcomes. I didn't take into consideration that they wouldn't. It's not really necessarily wouldn't. It's just, that is a big task to ask an intern to look over these and make sure everything's running properly. And I mean, understanding how we market for the theater, I did learn that. How we put ads out, and I don't know how much, but I would look up if they wanted to advertise it in The Guardian, or if they wanted to advertise it in a weekly newsletter that goes out. But actually understanding the financial of it, not so much. Let me see. Yeah. I feel like I've gained a lot of insight on how a theater venue is ran, how I work with everyone that it's connected with, how to promote the certain shows or promote the venue itself, market it. I feel like I've learned quite a bit. And with this learning from it, I feel like that later in my career, that when I want to run a festival, if I want to run a venue, that I'm going to need help. It takes a team. It takes everyone together working, not just performers and companies and producers and directors, but like having someone who has your back, who can understand, having someone who, just more than one person. I talked to Zaina, who is one of the founders of Camden Fringe, and she's still the main person, her and the other person, I cannot remember her name for the life of me. They don't do it alone. They have each other to support on how to get not just the financial backing, but in how to market it so they can get for the companies to come and showcase their work in the festival. It's an amazing experience that I did. I wouldn't change it, even with if you look on previous videos, it looks like I'm almost gonna have a mental breakdown and start crying. But it's something that I don't think I would change, and I'm really happy that I did this. But it made me realize that I don't want to say I don't want to, because it would be something amazing to do in the future, but I can't do alone. No. There is absolutely no way that I can, that I don't see a feasible way that I could do it by myself. And I want to say I bet there's people out there, but like knowing the teamwork that we did, no, I feel like there's no way. But yeah, so I'm not sure exactly how to wrap this up, and I might have rambled in bits and pieces, and I'm sorry. maybe I should wrap it up with my learning outcomes again, and do a checklist maybe. So learning outcomes: 1, gain a critical insight in how a theater venue is maintained and operated during a theater festival. Yes, there's no doubt in my head that I did not learn what is needed for the theater through this video and through my others. I hope that it's feasible, that you can see that I understand. 2, gain an understanding on how to promote and market a show in the Black Box Theater during the duration of Camden Fringe, through social media, through the marketing platform of the selling tickets online, on promoting with the posters and the banners and everything for the shows, besides just word of mouth through the audience members on, hey, what's going to be on this show. I feel like I understand that as well. 3, gain an understanding of the marketing and financial aspects of running a venue during Camden Fringe. Yeah, I feel like for that one, I did not gain the understanding, mostly because I wasn't privy to the information. And I understand why I wasn't. If one of the people from Etc. Theater see this, oh my God, I'm going to be so embarrassed and shocked, and I'm so sorry. But I understand why, because I was an intern basically. I did, that's information that should probably be towards, a seasoned person, or even just the managers and directors who are running the theater venue. Not something that should be just to me or to workers like me. 4, gain an understanding on how to liaison with the theater festival headquarters, which is in Manchester. The venue itself, Etc. Theater, the performers, the producers, and the companies of the shows, to best accommodate all their needs. And I actually added to this just now, audience as well, to keep everyone happy. There are certain things that you can allow and things you can't. And, if your show needs fire, I'm sorry, but you can't do it at this theater. I actually don't really know a lot of theaters that would do this. And I keep going back to that because that's a big one. It came up quite a few times. Yeah. I feel that I've achieved my understanding and insight of the theater by working at this, and of the festival by working in this theater. Sorry. It was fun, and I'm very happy I did that. It's a great experience. I am happy that I will be working for the theater as just like a weekend person, every other weekend, every other few weekends, something like that. They're giving me hours, so that's great. Yeah. So this is me signing off for my final and last post for my placement. Bye.